Hello, my name is Christopher and welcome to a comparison video of the brand new Volvo EX30 single motor extended range with the big battery then and a single motor. This is the Renault Megane E-Tech EV60 with a single motor and a big battery. And both of these cars are running Android Automotive, which is very nice. Both of these cars are about 4.2 meters long. This is exactly 4.2, while this is 4.23 meters. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the compartments in the back, how it's the luggage, how good is this motors in these cars, and how far can you go with this battery. We're going to do a consumption and charging and what not. So stick around for this comparison. But let's start with some numbers, and the Megane EV60 starts with a price in Sweden of 439,900 Swedish kronors, but this car I have here costs 519,900 kronors. The weight of this car is 1.7 tons and the motor is 160 kilowatts, which is 218 horsepower. The battery is 65 kilowatt hours gross with 60 kilowatt hours net capacity, and the WLTP range of this car is 429 kilometers. Taking a look at the EX30 single motor extended range costs 489,000 Swedish kronos, but this car I have here costs 570,900 kronos. It weighs 1.85 tons and have a motor of 200 kilowatts or 272 horsepower. The battery is larger at 69 kilowatt hours gross with a 64 net capacity, and the WLTP range is of course longer than with 475 kilometers. Renault have chosen to have the motor in the front, which makes the car front wheel drive, and here we also have the charging port. And if I open this one, we can see the AC charging for which is 22 kilowatts standard of the Renault Megane E-Tech if you live in a country where you have three-phase electricity. I know in Sweden we have, most of Europe also have, but I know that in the US, for example, you go with one phase and then it's 7 kilowatts instead. If you want to fast charge, you can do that up to 130 kilowatts instead. The 10 to 80% should go to about 30 minutes, but in Swedish winter this can go on to about 40 minutes instead. There is preheating options in the car if you navigate through the Google navigation, which you have inside, which we're going to take a look at soon, but it's not super efficient, so count with 40 minutes if there is below 0 degrees. Volvo, on the other hand, have chosen to have the motor in the rear, which makes the car rear-wheel drive, and also we have the charging port here, perfect for me. Here we also have AC charging, and this car can also do 22 kilowatt AC, because this is the Ultra version with the single motor extended range. I don't know how it is in other countries that use single phase, but here in Sweden and three-phase countries we have 22 kilowatt AC as standard. If we take a look at the DC then, we have 150 kilowatts here, which is faster than the Renault Megane, and this car can also do 10 to 80 in 28 minutes instead of the 30 that we had on the Megane. This also have preheating of the battery, and it has a bit more better than the Megane, but you should still expect around 35 minutes if it's cold. I've done it in 32 in about plus 2 degrees, but if you go below 0, more expected is 35. But the Volvo is a bit faster for DC charging then. To get the consumption of the cars and also learn how they drive, I have made up a little route that I thought we were going to take them on and talk a bit about how they drive and also get the consumption of that route so we can compare these two together. And then after that we're going to take a look at the luggage in both cars, take a back look at the rear seats and the infotainment and driving style as well, because the interior of these two cars are quite different. Stay tuned for that. So with a little help of movie magic, it's now the day after, and unfortunately it rains. I've been planning this for a couple of weeks, and when the day comes to do it, it starts raining. Fantastic. But both cars will have the same environment, so it doesn't matter. I have made a route on Google Maps at home. Unfortunately, there is something wrong with this Renault, so it can't use internet connections in apps for some reason. If I go to Spotify, it says that sign in. There was a problem with the connection. Try again. But the issue is that if we take a look at my phone, I have the option to send to cars, and unfortunately, the only 3 cars that I have is Volvos. It's an old Ford XC40 press car. It's my EX30, and it's the press car EX30, but it's not the Renault that I'm currently sitting in. And I think it is because of this internet connection issue that Google can't get the feedback that I'm signed in with my account here. So I will have to plan my route manually, and then we are ready to go. Okay, I finally managed to make the route. It really is a bad way to make routes in the car when you need to make a route instead of just going to a place. Google is not made for that. But now I have a route, and I have reset the trip meter, so it's on 0. I have 76% in the battery, 21 degrees in here, and that means we can put in reverse and let's go. So now we are on our way out of the city. We are going out of the city onto the motorway, going there for a bit, and then we are going on some roads outside the city with some lower speed, and then we are going back into the city again. So we're going for some not just a straight 90 or 120 that I usually do when I do my consumption test, but we're going for something that is a bit more common, I think, on how you drive your actual car. Going to take about an hour or something like that. As you can see, the weather is what it is, not much to do about it. Rain is something that we usually have in the world, so real world test, if you want to say so. A difference between Volvo and this car is the one pedal driving, for example. I always drive with one pedal driving, and since I've always done it from the beginning, I always do it in all my tests, so they stay the same. But one difference here is that was the brand new iX2, a car I tried and didn't like. One thing is that this car doesn't go down to complete 0. You have to push the braking pedal for it to stop, while the Volvo can go down to 0 with its own one pedal drive. This one also have pedals on the back of the steering wheel so I can change how much the car should brake. So right now I have it on max, but I can change it if I want, and then it will be more like just rolling down. But then we can do that and we start braking. Another difference between these cars is the rims. This has the 20-inch, and that is because you get that as standard on the iconic version of the Renault Megane, while the Volvo EX30 you can choose between 19 and 20, at least here in Sweden. I know some other parts of the world 20 is standard when you go with the Ultra version, but here in Sweden it is 19, and I have 19 on the one that I drive. You can really feel that it is 20-inch rims on this car. You can feel that there's not a lot of rubber between you and the road, and while I would have probably chosen the 20-inch because it's cool and looks good, you can really feel it when it comes to the comfort. Now we are about to go out on the motorway, and I thought we would do some tests of the assistance systems. I'm on the motorway now and driving in 110 kilometers an hour in the rain here, so the consumption will probably be high, but it will be the same for the Volvo. Thinking the assistance systems here does a good job. I have all the lane assistance and adaptive cruise control and everything turned on. Doing a good job with keeping me on the road, keeping me safe on the speedometer here. We'll see if they go slower than me and I can catch them, and we can see if the adaptive cruise control does a good job. No, it seems like I don't. Can talk about this one, because as you can see now, can't really see anything from that, and that is because it's raining a lot. I can do that, and we'll see that we clean up in the back. which is nice. And now we can see a little bit more. But even if I would do this, I still don't see a lot because of the rain. Oh, it's quite warm. You can really feel that there is a... oh, now the car lost control. Doesn't tell me when it loses control. It just does it. Weird. Still don't see very much, so might as well. It doesn't really matter because of the weather. But for assistance driving, I think it does a good job. There's a lot of noise in here coming from the road. The weather is, of course, much to blame for that. The 20-inch rims are also to blame for that. And it would have been nice to drive without the rain. We'll see if I can do a quick one tomorrow maybe, and I can just put it in here to talk a bit about the noise, because right now it's not really representative. So now we just turned off the motorway. It was about 12 kilometers of motorway. Not much, but for WLTP tests, there is really not much motorway tests, high-speed tests either. So I thought we would go a bit more like that, and now we will do maybe 70. I think it's like 70 most of the time now for the road. So we get a good mix of what roads we will drive. The steering assistant is really not as good when it comes to these smaller roads. It goes on and off, and you don't get a notification when it goes off. It just does, and when it's on, it's try to correct itself all the time. So it's really nervous and annoying to use. So for this type of road, I think I want to turn it off, and I can do this by just pressing a button, a physical button next to me here that I press here, and I get that the steering assist is now in sleep mode. So now I don't have to bother with it, and the steering is all mine. Feels much better, to be honest. So now I am on a little smaller road, and I thought we would go into sport mode and also turn off the one-pedal driving completely so we can try it out. I just drove the Renault Scenic in Spain and didn't like the braking, so let's brake and see what we do here. And I think it's much better in the Megane. It's much more linear, and it's not as soft as it was in the Megane, in the Scenic. Hopefully they can fix that. When it comes to steering, really doesn't matter what mode you're in. It's still quite easy to turn. It's an okay steering. It's not amazing. You don't get much feeling in it. Thought we would get out of some houses so we could do some speeding. And we're back to 70, and you can really feel that the car is front-wheel drive, and it pulls you towards you, and instead of pushing the car. This car is not made for driving dynamically, if we're going to call it that. It is a city car, and you can really feel that it's quite heavy. Doesn't really want to do anything fun, just okay, you want me to go there, I go there, yada yada, that type of stuff. I must say that I really enjoy the interior of the Renault Megane, even if I think they have a bit too much things around the steering wheel. I mean, we have the gear selector here, we have the lever for windscreen wipers and such. We have a paddle for regeneration, we have a lever for the media down here. Then we have this multi-sense button that changes the profiles and, or the driving modes. We have the next pedal, and then we have the lever for the turning signals. So plus all the steering wheel buttons. So there is a lot of stuff going on around here, but they are physical, and we also have physical options here that is close for me as a driver and makes it easy for me to push, gives good feedback as well. We also have the option, not an option, it is standard. We also have the physical buttons for the climate control here, which is super nice to have, and I highly enjoy that. We also have the big driver display that I personally think is a bit too big, but I'd rather have a too big than not at all. Can watch Google Maps there like I do right now, and we can do whatever we want here. We don't even have to focus on this one because I can just keep my focus here in front of me. So we are back in the city now, and we are currently have a few kilometers to go before we are back at the parking lot where we're going to switch to the EX30. And I really like the interior, as I said, of the Megane. Sorry, lots of numbers here and names. But the seats are also really comfortable and good. There is no thigh support. I usually would prefer that, as some of you might know by now. But I wonder if not these seats are longer than in the EX30. I will have to check that because it feels like that. It is not as much needed with the thigh support as I usually think. But they also look good, and in this configuration it looks a bit like leather. It is not leather, real leather at least, but they have a good feeling to it and they feel quality and comfortable, and you can find some scratchy plastic if you really want to, like this here at the doors. Then we go down to a bit softer material, and then here at the side of the door I can fix the rear view mirrors. I can lower the windows straight from the driver's side, like you normally can in most cars. Then we are back here at the parking lot, and we have two Volvo EX30s standing right in front of me. And these two are mine. One is a press car, and the yellow one is actually mine. One is a twin engine, and one is the rear wheel engine that we're gonna drive. But taking a look at the Renault Megane, we have 54% left in the battery, and we have driven 59.2 kilometers. If we take a look at the consumption, we have a consumption of 19.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Sorry, and that is of course because of the weather. Can we see the average speed here? Somewhere we can't. Too bad. Oh well, 19.6, but I think that 59.2 kilometers is a bit short for taking estimate, and since it's raining and I can't really do any of the other filming that I had planned, I might as well just go for another round, so we get about 120 kilometers of sample, and then we do the Volvo. So I will just do another round, and then we will be back here in about an hour maybe. So now I am in the EX30 just to end the Renault Megane here. After that second lap we had driven 118.4 kilometers, and we had a consumption of 19.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers with 32% left in the battery. Now here in the EX30, this is the rear wheel drive with single motor engine. We have 87% in the battery. We have resetted the trip meter, so it's 0 there, and we have also the temperature inside here of 21 degrees. And as you can see, there is still stuff coming down from the sky, unfortunately, but I guess it's good since the Renault had that. It's time to go. While going out of the city, the Volvo have the one pedal driving, which is super nice to have in just cities where you do a lot of start and stops. And this one goes down to 0, so you can stop completely down to 0 with the Volvo. Unfortunately, in the EX30, they have done, it's quite soft, the one pedal driving, which means that the Renault is nicer in the city because it's harder, but you can also adjust that to your liking. Here it's one setting only, and that is too soft for me. So you can't win both, I guess. So now I am on the motorway in the EX30, and the driving assistance is working good, I think. There are really no big issues here, even though we have quite a bad weather. Something I don't like is that adaptive cruise control. I don't have the option to change the distance on the steering wheel. I need to go while driving to the settings and driving, and here I can choose one out of 3 options, but I can't do that on the steering wheel. And that is an issue because if there is on long, which I have now, which is the highest, you have to go out to the next lane really early in case you get closer to someone, because the car will start braking quite early. Also, while driving on the motorway, we can talk about the noise level here. It's very noisy right now, but it is because I think there is some form of ice cubes in the rain or something that makes it really noisy. And since we also have the panoramic glass roof here, that doesn't really help. When it comes to road noise, however, I feel there is a lower volume in the EX30 than it was in the Renault Megane. And the ride is more comfortable in the EX30 than it was in the Renault Megane, I think. The Renault was a bit bumpy, while the EX30 smoothed that out a bit better. So now we are on a smaller road and the noise level is a bit better, which is nice. We can talk more. You can really feel that here the comfort is better than in the Renault Megane. But I think the Renault Megane has better seats than the Volvo have. I found them too short. I really don't like the chairs in the EX30. And if I was to drive 8 hours with any of these cars, I would probably do the Renault Megane because of the better seats. I also think they felt better than what they do in the Volvo. The Volvo feels quite cheap. We will talk more about the interior later on. We don't have a screen here, but we have a normal mirror, which works most of the time. Also in the EX30, we have a good window at the rear, so we can see out. It's a bit foggy now, so we might need to use Google. So Google warning. Hey Google, sätt på defroster bak. And now it's on. I have it in Swedish, so I need to talk Swedish with her. But now the defroster back is on and we're good to go. And that's how you should use the Google Assistant in the X30, because Volvo has done a fantastic job to hide every setting really inside this screen in under menus and sub menus. It's hard to find in this menu. In the X30 we don't have any modes. We have all the horsepowers available to us at all times. And just comparing the driving experience with the Renault Megane, it's a bit unfair for the Renault Megane. The Volvo EX30 is much more fun car to drive. Much better chassis control, and the dampening is really good in the EX30. Also, since it's rear-wheel drive and more power, you can really use that and feel that while you're driving. I really like how the EX30 drives. You can also, with rear-wheel driving, if you would put your pedal down when you come out of a corner, you might lose grip, which I already have done with this once during this little trip. Never did that with the Renault Megane, and that is something that could happen when you have a lot of power available to you at all times in a rear-wheel drive car. The thing is that I'm in a Volvo, and they are quite famous for their safety systems, and the car did a fantastic job in saving the situation by killing all the power to the wheel and also straightening up the car. So it wasn't a long time, and I was never in any danger or anything like that, but I lost my grip, which I didn't in the Renault Megane. Taking a look at the interior of the car, we really don't have much other than the 12-inch screen here and a big soundbar at the front. The soundbar, if we start with that, I think Volvo has done a good job with. It's also Harman Kardon as in the Renault Megane. But the sound here is better than in the Renault. in my opinion. So I think they have really achieved a good result there. But with the rest of the interior, it's... No, I don't agree with it at all. It has really started to snow now. That's something I did not expect when I woke up this morning. This, we can see the decor here, is trash. And I mean this in two ways. It's actually trash that Volvo has found, mixed together and made a decor of, so it is trash. But I also think it is trash because it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, and they have a plastic cover on top of it to protect it, of course. I think it feels cheap. And that's something I could say with basically anything in this interior. It feels cheap. The Renault feels more, I don't want to say premium, because the premium is a word that's being used way too much, and the Renault is not premium. But compared to just these two cars, the Renault is the more premium one in my opinion. It feels better, the quality feels nicer, and the Volvo just feels like cheap, boring car, really. It has many great benefits, the EX30. The interior is certainly not one of them. I'm thinking that there really is no big point in doing this second lap with the EX30. Partly because the Renault Megane was so similar both of the times, but also because of the difference in weather. What do you want? I'm not close to anything. Full snowstorm here now, and we started out with just some rain. It's not even comparable to each other, and I think that there really is no use of having these numbers now. All the warnings go off because of the snow. Wrong day to do this, apparently. I only have the cars for 2 days, so there really is nothing else I can do. Okay, so now I am back. We have 68% left in the battery. And if we take a look here, we can see that we have a consumption of 22.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers after driving 59.5 kilometers. And as I said, it feels like there's really no point in doing a second lap again because of the weather. It's really shame that it became this bad, and these numbers are really not useful for anyone. Based on this, I can't say that the Volvo is thirstier than the Renault Megane. So I think we just move on to taking a look at the trunk and the back seat, because that is more interesting, I think. And when we are talking about the measurements inside, we need to talk about the measurements outside again, because as I said in the beginning, the Megane is 3 centimeters shorter than the Volvo, but the wheelbase is 3 centimeters longer. Keep that in mind. If you open this one and we push this button, and we need to open it manually because there is no electric tailgate here, we have 440 liters here. And because of the motor is in the front, we have a lot of space here in the back to do whatever we want with. It's so much that if we would go down here to pick up something, we hit our head in this one. But if we are a bit doing a bit better, we can take out charging cables from a compartment we have under the floor here, so even more storage. If we would fold the rear seats, which is also 60/40, we get access to 1,332 liters. But as you can see in the image I show, there's quite a big edge there, and I think Renault could have done a much better job in hiding that or making that more flat than it actually is. Closing here, again, non-electric. We can have a tow hook on this car. 900 kilos is something we can pull then, and if we want something on the roof, it's 80 kilos. So it looks like I forgot to record this bit in English, or if I've just lost the footage, I don't know. Either way, I have to do this through voiceover. The trunk in the Volvo EX30 is only 318 liters, which is quite a bit smaller than in the Megane. The Volvo has a motor in the back, so it can't push down the floor as much as the Megane, but there's still some room to lift the floor to get some more space. Here you can have your charging cables if you don't want them in the front, something the EX30 actually have, which the Megane doesn't. Then folding the rear seats give you a flat floor, which is more practical than how it is in the Megane. It is smaller though at 908 liters. The towing capacity of the EX30 is much better, up to 1,600 kilos in this rear-wheel drive extended version. The EX30 also comes with an all-wheel drive option that also can tow up to 1,600 kilo. The roof load is a maximum of 75 kilos. Taking a look at the back seat here. And now this chair is like I want it when I drive, and as you can see, it's a bit cramped in here. My knees are quite high and there's no space between me and the seat. Good room with the head, 2 fingers above me. If I sit like this, I can also man spread like this and I sit a bit better. Taking a look at the middle here, we have 2 grills so I can adjust my own air. I have 2 USB-C, that's nice, but quite scratchy here. Quite scratchy here, scratchy. But then we come down to the door handle and taking a look at the seats as well. We have this material as well that I think is kind of nice to touch on. And it is not real leather, it just looks like it, but feels good. There are no cup holders or anything else here like that. There is not possible to fold this one for an armrest, so that's too bad. Let's jump into the Volvo and see how we get there. Jumping into the Volvo, and the space is even worse than it was in the Renault Megane. This chair is like I want it when I drive, and I feel much more cramped in here, even though I have this big panoramic roof that I didn't have in the Megane. We have 2 USB seats here, that's nice. There's no air back here like it was in the Renault. The plastic is not that scratchy like it was in the Renault. Oh, well, found it. This is recycled material, Volvo says. Sure it is. I don't doubt them about that, but it is very scratchy. Some soft material up here. No handle here like we had in the Megane. The seats, this is the Breeze interior. I think it kind of looks good on this part. But this part just feels cheap, I think. I don't like it at all, and you have a lot of it in the whole interior. There's no way to take down the armrest here as well, so we don't have any cup holders back here. To be honest, I think the back is worse in the Volvo than it is in the Renault. If we are taking a look in the front here, I think it's pretty nice, to be honest. We have a big driver display, we have a big screen in the middle, we have buttons down below here for climate control. What else we do have an armrest, which we can open for some more storage, and then we have 2 USB-C here as well. All the levers and such I've already talked about. Something that I missed to mention when it comes to the paddles is that the car won't remember what your settings were the last time. So if you're like me and you push it to the maximum, so you want the maximum regeneration, next time you come to the car, it will be at the minimum, because the car won't remember that. It's a sloppy setting, I think, and Renault should just deal with it, take care of it in an over-the-air update, but apparently not. Taking a look at the interior, we still have the scratchy plastic here. Coming down, we have a bit more soft material, and then we come down to the armrest here, where we have buttons for the mirrors and the windows and such. Super nice. We also have the same material here as we have on the chairs. And taking a look at the interior of the Volvo, jump in here and we can see that doesn't really matter how big the steering wheel in the Volvo is, because there is nothing in front of it. We have two stalks here, but that's the stalks we have. We have buttons on the steering wheel, which I don't like at all. And they are very unresponsive. They feel very plastic and cheap, doesn't give any good feedback when you press them. And Volvo has also realized that these buttons are not very good and have made a redesign of them for model year 2025. Everything is inside of this 12-inch screen here. We also have the driver display up here. If we want to change our mirrors, for example, we can do that in the screen. We don't have any option to do that on the driver's side door. The other options that we usually have on the driver's side door is instead in the middle here, in front of the armrest. And this armrest is nothing we can open, but so there is no storage under here. But instead, we can do like this. And here we have cup holders, and I can also remove just the cup holders and use this as some form of storage or other form of space. If we move that aside, we also have more storage down here. And down here we also find two USB-Cs and some options where we can put our phone, and also wireless phone. When it comes to quality, we can take a quick look. We don't have this scratchy plastic up here, which we found in the Renault. But if we go down, we still have this scratchy plastic here. But then we have some soft material. And to be honest, when it comes to the seats, again, the stitching here looks nice, but the rest of the seat doesn't really feel that good. And I'm actually measured now. The seats are in the Volvo is about 2.5 centimeters shorter than in the Renault, and that makes a lot of difference when it comes to thigh support. I also think that the Renault have better seats in general than the Volvo EX30 have, and also I'm just comparing the Megane and the EX30 now. But the Volvo can be better if you like this kind of design where it's not so messy everywhere, because in the Renault everything, the screens, buttons and all that stuff can be a bit messy for some. Here everything is very stripped down, and some people prefer that as well. I would have preferred something in the middle of those two. Taking a look at the driver display in the Renault Megane, we have Google Maps in the background here, which is super nice to have if you are navigating somewhere. You can also change other views here. This one kind of looked like Mercedes according to me, and this is my favorite. Just normal driving works well. We can also change the widget here so we can see different things depending on what we want to see, for example. So that's nice. If we take a look at the middle screen, we have Android Automotive with Google Maps built in and two widgets here. Also, we can navigate using Google Maps. So if I would just go like this, navigate to turning torso.
Navigating to turning torso.
Fantastic. And it will plan with charges. It says we need 3 charging stops. So let's just start that. And we have charging planned for us. So that's how easy it is. And if I just show you in the driver display here now, you can see that we also have the navigation there. If we move over to this second one, we have our media, and here you can see that we have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Both of them exist in the Android Automotive system for Renault, and both of them are also wireless. This is something that Renault is alone with, actually. You can also see that I have Spotify here. It's an app I have downloaded from the Google Play Store, and at the Play Store we also have many other apps. We have Waze, YouTube Music, Storytel, Vivaldi Browser, and other interesting apps that we can use to when we are parked. Finally, we have settings on for the car, and just normal car settings really. Something I could show you is the 360 camera, which looks pretty good. I find it's easy to see and navigate, and you can do like this as well. Super nice. Finally, I want to show you the Apple. If we go to, there we go, about Apple CarPlay. It looks like this, taking up most of the screen here. And then down below we have the settings for our climate control here, and these are physical buttons, so we can press them, and they also have good feedbacks. Super nice. In the Volvo, we can jump straight to the middle screen since there is no driver display. But here at the top, you can see that this is the driver display that we get. And if I put in drive, you can see that this is the information we have. If I reverse, you can also see that this is the screen that we get. We get some beeping here. We have the 360 camera, and we also have, I will put that in P so we don't hear the, and then we have the back camera here. Going back, and we can talk a bit more about this map, which is Google Maps, and we can also press it down here to remove the widgets that we had, or if we can press again to get the widgets back. So here I have media and my phone, and the Google Maps works exactly as in the Renault. Navigate to turning torso.
Navigating to turning torso.
Which it will do, multiple charging needing, and it will plan them for us. So here we have the charges. Just as in the Renault, we need to stop and charge 3 times. Now we are ready to get going. Fantastic. Taking a look at the next tab, we have all the apps here, which we have downloaded. You can also see that we have YouTube, Spotify, but also the Play Store. And here in the Play Store, we can get basically all the apps that we had in the Renault as well. I think the Volvo looks a bit more fresh and modern with its looks, but it is annoying to only have this as your map. If you're driving, you need to look all over there to see where you're navigating, and that can be a hassle if you are in a traffic jam or stressful in a new city where you're not familiar. If we take a look at the car menu here, we can see that we have one pedal drive here, for example. If I turn that on or off, the car will remember that, in which the Renault didn't. But lane keeping aid and speed limit warning will always be on when we get to the car, and that is because of EU regulations. Nothing Volvo can do about it. Car status, we have stuff there. Settings, we can do all the settings that we normally can do in most cars. I think the Volvo system is a bit more messy since we have to do everything in the screen, and we have to go to, for example, press here, we go to setting, we go to driving, and now we can change the interval to vehicle ahead like I showed you earlier, or we can change other settings here, for example, while in the Renault we have options for that without having to go into menus. Climate control is on this menu, and here we can set everything that we really want to set. We can set a timer and such, for example. So I think it's time to draw a conclusion about these two cars. I must say, if we start with driving, I think the Volvo does a better job of that. The chassis, the suspension, the dampers, everything is better in the Volvo, I think. Also, when it comes to noise quality, the Volvo is quieter than the Renault. With the Volvo, you have the option of 4-wheel drive, and you can also tow up to 1,600 kilos, which you can't do with the Renault. So it makes a more practical car there, if those are important to you. But when it comes to taking a look inside, when it comes to the interior, I think the Renault takes the point. I think it's much more user-friendly. I think it's easier with the screens, with the buttons, and I think the seats are nicer than in the Volvo. But also, since it's a bit larger inside, you can also fit better in the Renault than you do in the Volvo. And that is partly because this Volvo have a larger bonnet than the Renault have, as well with the larger wheelbase. So with that, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of the Volvo EX30, make sure to subscribe. Also, I mentioned the Renault Scenic earlier. I have just driven that in Malaga, Spain. If you want to see that video, you can find it on the channel as well. Thank you for watching, and I see you in another video. Goodbye.